We start off this series in Germany, where we see someone saying that this night they should have really turned down that job. We then see a girl running with all that she can. She is in a phone call with someone who says that mysterious myths about supernatural beings tell the girl that times have changed and that for the past 10 years, sightings of these fairy tale monsters have been reported and tons of bizarre creatures have been caught on video. The girl drops the phone and says that it's all lies and that it's just some silly occult stuff and that it's all made up. But just then, a monster appears right behind her and the monster is going to attack her. Just then, a mysterious swordsman comes from the sky and cuts the monster in half, and it's none other than our main character, Tojuro. The girl quickly sees him before he quickly disappears. Someone then goes to Tojuro and tells him that he did great work on this last-minute mission and calls him a lifesaver. Tojuro asks if there are any anomalies left downtown, but the guy says that there isn't. Tojuro calls it a relief, and then he crashes out and says that it's because they are making him work his ass off, suddenly dragging him overseas and putting him straight to work. The guy just laughs and says that Tojuro is always so reliable. Tojuro then sits down on the ground and says that he already wants to go back to Japan. The man tells him that as an exorcist, Tojuro has got one of the highest extermination numbers and says that it's quite impressive for someone his age. Tojuro just says that he doesn't feel so great, and the man calls him cranky. Tojuro then says that the anomaly it's faced looks so much like his family dog Peso, and he then starts to shake while the guy just smiles. We then get explained that the anomalies suddenly appeared about 10 years ago, and that they are creatures that defy the principles of biology. As sightings were confirmed across all nations and analysis progressed, a single conclusion was drawn, which was that no matter whether myth, fable, or urban legend, their forms closely resembled every single mythology, saying that legendary creatures actually exist in the modern world. The Prime Minister then asks how this is a problem. People then look scared and ask him what he is saying. He just asks if they don't have people who can subjugate these monsters. He says that they do, but not everyone seems to know that they do. We then learn that the ones who could fight were those who could fight an unseen enemy, and they were called exorcists. We then get to a car where Tojuro says that this is just a convenient way of dumping jobs on them, and says that modern weapons could easily deal with some of these anomalies, and asks why they don't just kill them instead. The guy with glasses says that it's their duty, not his, saying that their family trades have been passed down for generations to finally be recognized, and he's sure that their ancestors are pleased. We then learn that exorcists have only one restriction, which is to never reveal themselves to ordinary people. We then get back to Tojuro, who says that just because his family has been practicing spiritual power for generations, he gets dragged all the way overseas for this, and no one even knows what he did. The glasses guy says that he understands him and that they're putting their lives on the line, and that a thank you once in a while would be nice. Tojuro, however, says that it's not only that, but that a life where you are forced to just kill things. He really hates it, and that he just wants a normal, slow life and to be free. Everyone just looks at him after that, and the glasses guy says that if Tojuro was free, then he could have pursued romance with that girl from earlier. But Tojuro says that it's not like that. Some of the other guys ask what's so great about girls when Tojuro has got them. We also see another girl in the car beginning to laugh by this. Anyway, the glasses guy then claps his hands and says that it's time to discuss the mission at hand. He tells them that they are on a route to the outskirts of Germany, where the rustic townscapes have become a popular tourist attraction. Starting this evening, the village is holding a festival lasting several days. Over the past few years, apparently, a partial powerful anomaly has been appearing during this period. He says that it's called the King of Beasts, saying that it has an imposing towering stature and appears in the Old Testament. But not only that, as it's among the strongest and toughest mythical creatures there are, Tojuro asks if they can really subjugate someone that powerful, but he just says that they will find out soon, but tells them to think of it this way. If they manage to defeat it, and the person who achieved this feat made a request, surely they would grant them at least one request, right? He looks towards Tojuro and says that if it's something he truly desires, then an ordinary life or perhaps love may not just be a dream after all, and Tojuro gets big eyes as he hears that. Tojuro then gets into the city and thinks that if he subjugates this anomaly, then he can finally be free. He says that he isn't trying to be like Quatre, and I'm guessing that is the glasses guy. Anyway, Tojuro says that he doesn't care about missions or duties, but instead that once this subjugation is over, he can finally be together with everyone else. But Tojuro starts to think about it and wonders why the anomaly only targets the days of this festival, wondering what its fixation is. Tojuro looks puzzled as he says that it must be acting with some sort of specific intention, and that he really wishes that they could understand each other, thinking that these anomalies, he really wonders what they think about. But as Tojuro is in his mind, thinking, he suddenly hears a loud scream which catches his attention. He looks at the citizens who screams, asking what it is that is coming their way. Tojuro spots the creatures and just wonders if it's supposed to be a mountain. But he then gets serious as he says no, and that the thing is the strongest beast in the land, and that it's a legendary anomaly, and he starts going towards it right away. But as he gets to it, he looks kind of scared as he thinks that it's way too big and says that it's the Beast King Behemoth. After that, the other comes, and Quattro tells the mages to immobilize it, and they send out some sort of pillars from the ground, which are supposed to hold it down. Quattro then takes out his own weapon and starts shooting at it right away. Tojuro then screams that they have got it, but Quattro says that he is wrong, as we then see that all of that didn't do anything, and Quattro says that even binding spells are useless against it. As Tojuro is looking at it, he realizes something, which is that it's moving really weirdly, saying that it's not even rampaging or anything, and that it's almost as if it's trying to avoid causing damage. Quattro then screams for Tojuro, who gets his head back in the game as he says that he can't care about any of it right now. If he just cuts down this anomaly, then he can be free. As Tojuro rushes towards it, a big magic circle suddenly appears under him, and he screams, asking what kind of spell this is, and Quattro says that he's got no idea, and that he has never seen anything like this. Quattro screams out for Tojuro, who just thinks that for the sake of his freedom he will slice it down, so he gets out his sword and makes a big jump as he jumps up and cuts off one of its horns, which leads to the behemoth falling to the ground. But then, everything suddenly gets super bright, and Tojuro gets into some weird space where he sees some kind of worshipper saying that the behemoth will undoubtedly go on to become a beast that the whole world will tell stories about, calling it astounding. The weird man then tells the behemoth to listen and says that it's a powerful beast, but not only that, it's also his strongest creation, and tells the behemoth to fulfill their duties to the fullest, and the man then goes and hugs the behemoth. Tojuro then gets back to real time, and he just looks super confused. He then lands on the ground and sees a bruise on his finger, and Quattro then comes and calls out for him before telling him to look out above him, and there we see one of the horns of the behemoth starting to fall on top of Tojuro, and Tojuro knows that he is in trouble. But as we see everything crashing, we see a hand coming his way. We then see Tojuro being fine, and someone asks him why he decided to hold back at the last minute and show mercy. It's the behemoth who was transformed into a girl, and she screams at Tojuro, asking him why. Tojuro looks at her stunned and asks who she is before trying to demand her to let him down. However, as he tries to get out of her grip, he realizes that he can't and that she is super strong. He thinks that the best thing is to play cool. However, he says that it isn't that easy when she doesn't have any clothes on. She then tells Tojuro that his sword strike would have undoubtedly been able to kill her. So why did he hesitate? Tojuro asks her what she is talking about, but she tells him that she is a beast and that she must fulfill her role, and she then takes her hand closer to her, and yeah, I'm not gonna delve deeper into that. She then tells Tojuro that she rules over the beasts, but if she is hunted down in accordance with the laws of nature, then she must fulfill her role and meet a proper end. Tojuro, still having no clue to what is going on, asks her what she is talking about, but he then catches on that she is Behemoth. He thinks that anomalies aren't able to communicate with them, or at least, that's what they have always been told. We then see the small bruise Tojuro had on Behemoth's hand. The Behemoth then tells Tojuro that her heart belongs to him, and he just screams, asking how things ended up like this. After that, the text says that the anomaly that appeared during the recent operation, the superclass being tentatively known as Behemoth, field agents were dispatched in an attempt to suppress it, but it was deemed too difficult. However, just as an attempt to seal the Behemoth was initiated, it was confirmed to have already transformed into some sort of humanoid form. After that, we get to a meeting where someone says that he has never heard about something like that, and they wonder just what they are supposed to do. But then the United States says that Japan should handle it. He says that in the report it stated that a young Japanese boy greatly influenced its transformation, so they should handle it. Japan is firstly scared, but the United States president has a cold stare, which makes Japan give in, and they say that they will take care and handle it. After that, we get to Tojuro, who says that they don't even know who activated that seal, and that he really wants to know what that was all about, wondering if it is related to this weird bruise he has got, but saying that more importantly, an anomaly that appeared in the Old Testament is now staying at his place, and wondering what kind of thing that is, saying that apparently that huge creature turned into this woman, and that she scared the shit out of him, and that she even asked Tojuro to devour her. Tojuro then looks at her hand, and he sees that she also has that bruise thing. After that, Quattro comes and tells Tojuro to bear with it and that it was a decision from high above. Tojuro tries to argue, but Quattro says that the #1 law of being an exorcist is that all missions must be completed accurately and swiftly, telling Tojuro that he will be fine. and that he isn't staying too far away, and that he can drop in and see how things are going, and that it isn't so bad. Asking Tojuro if this doesn't feel like a fun start to some sort of fairy tale, and that for now Tojuro should try to handle things himself. After that, the behemoth wants to look outside, but she accidentally destroys the wall, and as she is going inside the house, her horns pierce through the ceiling. Tojuro asks her if she has to always break something whenever she moves. She tells him that it can't be helped, as she is the king of the beasts and the bringer of destruction. This makes Tojuro mad as he tells her to cut it out right away, saying that king of the beasts or not, he doesn't care, but if she keeps destroying her own nest, then she will regret it when she is open to the outside elements. Explaining that this is a rental, and that someone went out of their way to make it nice like this, and he demands her to sit because he needs to clean. The behemoth is annoyed but goes with it. She then just sits quietly, and Tojuro is done with fixing everything, but he thinks that he hasn't heard anything from her before. Being annoyed with Quattro, he says that he promised that if Tojuro finished his last job, then he would get his freedom. Anyway, the behemoth then speaks up and asks Tojuro when he will be devouring her flesh. Tojuro screams at her and asks her why the hell she keeps saying that. The behemoth says that she is pretty confident in the quality of her meat, especially the area around her belly. Tojuro tells her that he won't be eating her and to stop trying to tempt him to do it. Besides, she is now living amongst humans now, so why would he even devour her meat when they have plenty of delicious food here? He then cooks up a really nice looking dish and tells her to dig in. She looks at it closely before starting to eat it. Tojuro asks her how it is, and she looks overjoyed. Tojuro blushes and tells her that she can eat as much as she wants. We then see that she finished a ton of plates and even then is asking for more food. Tojuro says that she ate everything and that there is nothing left, but she still says that she wants more, so Tojuro says that he will buy more for her. However, as he is walking to the store, he calls it a pain, saying that she is huge and constantly goes on about wanting him to devour her, and that she's inconsiderate and keeps breaking stuff. But at the same time, at least she listens to him when he talks, and the rice he made for her, she seemed to really enjoy it. Tojuro then smiles and says that she really is something else. He then wonders what anomalies even like to eat, but then Quattro comes by him and asks if he is also out shopping. Tojuro says that he thought that Quattro had gone back, but Quattro says that he told him that he would be close by. Quattro then looks at Tojuro's shopping and asks him if he is buying food for the behemoth. He says that he is, but also for himself, as she ate everything in their house, and then she looked really sad, because all of the food was gone. Quattro is just silent before Tojuro tells him to listen. He says that he has been thinking that she might not actually be evil, and if they tried talking to other anomalies the same way, then they might be able to talk to, and more willing to listen. Then they thought so instead of subjugating them, but Quattro cuts him off and tells him that it's a dangerous way of thinking, telling him that no matter how much special treatment you afford them, they are still anomalies, and they can easily kill them with just one hand. Even that behemoth probably even easier, Tojuro tries to argue, but Quattro says that they can go berserk, and that it would be far too late for them to regret biting the hand that fed them. Quattro asks Tojuro if he gets it, saying that it's good that they seem to get along, but that he must never get his guard down, and that he must also make an effort to not get caught up in her place. Tojuro still tries to argue, and says that he doesn't believe that she is evil, but just then, something happens with his mark on his finger, and it says, "Warning," telling Tojuro that 10 minutes have passed since he has been more than 200 meters away from the subject, and that they are nullifying engagement. Tojuro asks what is going on, and if the bruise just spoke, but they then realize that something is wrong, and just then it seems to start an earthquake. But as they look out, they see the behemoth in full size being in town, and they wonder if she has seriously turned back. Tojuro asks Quattro how this happened, but he says that he isn't sure himself, and that the only thing he knows is that if they let this continue, then things are only going to get worse. Tojuro asks the ring if they can't do something about it, but it says that under current conditions, it is impossible, and for now, please find a way to calm down Behemoth. Behemoth then starts to go wild, and Quattro, while having his gun out, tells Tojuro to let's go. Tojuro asks him why he has his gun out, and he tells Tojuro that they can't let her harm the city or its people, saying that he isn't sure what calming her down means, but if she keeps rampaging this town, and its citizens will get hurt, and worst case scenario, they may have to consider extermination, which shocks Tojuro. Tojuro knows that he can't let that happen, so he jumps towards her and screams her name. However, the behemoth is just continuing to cause rampage, and Tojuro thinks that there has to be a way, so he takes a deep breath and screams while asking her to stop and sit down, which she actually does. Even Tojuro himself says that he didn't think that it would work, and that the behemoth actually listens to him. But just then Quattro spots something and tells Tojuro that it isn't, and tells him to look up, and as he does so, he spots a ton of anomalies flying around in the sky. They noticed that more and more of them are gathering around the behemoth, and they start to wonder if it's her that is calling for them. Quattro then says that he knew it, and that these anomalies are far too dangerous. However, Tojuro can't stop thinking about his moments with the behemoth, and we then see the behemoth punching one of the anomalies and killing it. She explains that Tojuro told her that human nests must not be destroyed. Tojuro then screams out for her, and she gathers all of her powers as she lets out a massive roar, which destroys all of the other anomalies. After that, the ring starts to speak again and says that the subject is returning to human form. We then see the behemoth transforming, and she says that the others came here because they wanted to meet the behemoth, but that she chased them away and asks if she did a good job. Tojuro looks super happy before closing his eyes and screaming at her to put on some clothes. Quattro just laughs looking at this and says that the terms of the contract have actually been fulfilled, and with something as outrageous as this. After that, we see the higher-ups talking about what just happened. The man from earlier says that no matter how you look at this, it could be their big chance, and that these anomalies, no other country has managed to get their hands on their mysterious powers yet. For instance, if that young man could actually control the behemoth, it would be a great help to them. They ask him what he means with control, but he says that he means making the behemoth fall in love with him. The girl worker just says that he had no idea that he were into such girly things, but he says that he isn't, but that he thinks about how easier things would become if he could tame the behemoth like that. Saying that for now, to ensure nothing like this happens again, they should request support from the headquarters and monitor the situation. We then see Tojuro saying that he knew it, and that anomalies can understand them if they just try and talk to each other, and that they won't need to kill them anymore. However, we then get back to the man who says that the mission has already started, and it's to make the behemoth and that young man fall in love with each other. We then see some sort of office man saying that it completes the necessary procedures, telling Tojuro that 90% of the partially destroyed buildings have already been restored. He tells them that both now have instructions to continue living here as before. Tojuro asks him if that's really okay, as after everything that happened, he thought that they would be quarantined for sure. The man just tells him that he is a special case and tells them that if they have any more issues arise, feel free to consult them anytime, and after that, he leaves. We then get to Tojuro, who thinks that he really doesn't understand how the government's power works, but if they are allowing them to stay, and just maybe, if they can learn to communicate a little better, perhaps they could become closer and things might change. After that, he calls out to Behemoth and tells her not to go and wreck anything. However, she doesn't respond as she is glued to the TV. Tojuro looks and sees that the Behemoth is staring at a bunch of food, and he says that those are in Chinatown, and she even starts to drool as she looks at him. After that, we see him outside with Quattro, and Tojuro tells him that the Behemoth wants to go to Chinatown, and that even now her eyes are still glued to the TV screen, and that if he takes her out to eat, maybe he could get to know her better, saying that even after the incident the other day he still doesn't actually think Behemoth is evil, explaining that maybe he could even figure out what these anomalies are thinking, as after all, he is practically her guardian at this point. Quattro just laughs as he hears that, and Tojuro tells him that he is doing his best. He then looks sad and asks if he isn't doing enough. Just then, Quattro takes up his phone and sees that someone is calling him. It's none other than the president of the Exor's Japanese branch, Kaninuma, who tells Tojuro that Exors has classified Behemoth as a top priority special case, telling Tojuro that he has their full support, so please make sure to treat her with the greatest hospitality. Tojuro is surprised and asks him if he is okay with this, and he says of course, telling Tojuro that everyone here really wants Tojuro to get along with the Behemoth, telling Tojuro that if he gives her a guided city tour and she has fun, then maybe rather than destroying the place, she might be more likely to protect it instead. Telling Tojuro to show her just how great human cities are and become her teacher and guide. Tojuro says alright, but Kaninuma then says that first and foremost, this whole thing is about boosting her affection for Tojuro, telling him to build such a deep bond with her and to aim to be the special man in Behemoth's life, saying that he can even think of this as a date and to go there with the goal of making her fall for him, which leaves him in total awe. But we then see them in the city. Tojuro just thinks to himself that this is bad and that this is harder than taking down Anomalous, saying that forget dating or even trying to make someone fall for him. He has never even hung out with his friends before. He wonders what dates even are to begin with and what you are supposed to do with them. Tojuro then looks at Behemoth and thinks that they even went out of their way to make date-specific clothing. Tojuro then looks at her closely and thinks that she really pulls off wearing human clothes and that she is really stunning. Behemoth then also looks at him, which only makes Tojuro look away. After that, he gets a devious smile, as he thinks that today she's getting the best damn escort ever. Tojuro then finally speaks up and tells Behemoth that he has been reading up on all these guidebooks and that he is going to show her all the coolest places today, explaining that there's a popular tourist spot here. But just then the Behemoth can smell something, and while Tojuro is speaking, she leaves him and goes towards the smell, telling Tojuro to follow her. Tojuro just thinks that she's insanely fast. We then see Tojuro trying his best to guide her. However, he quickly realizes that she isn't listening to him and that she is only going to where the food is. But then suddenly, Tojuro bumps into someone else, and that's when the Behemoth pulls out her hand and catches him. The Behemoth tells him that he walks too slow and that there are so many people here and that Tojuro is small, so they will end up losing each other. Tojuro then tells her that it's just her that is huge. After that, the Behemoth tells him to hold on to her and that anywhere is fine. Tojuro just asks her if she really means anywhere, and she says, "Of course, as my body belongs to him after all." Tojuro then screams that it's enough and that everyone's staring at them. They then hold hands, and people around them start to wonder if they are siblings, maybe mother and son, or maybe even a couple. Tojuro then thinks that he thought her hand was the least awkward place to hold her, but now that he thinks about it, a man and a woman holding hands like this is super embarrassing. He then wonders what the proper way to link their hands is, but after that he thinks that he can't go making it weird now, and that he used to hold hands with mom and dad all the time, thinking that he wants them to get along better and that they're only holding hands so that they don't get separated. But after that, his hand slips into hers fully, and he thinks that it's really starting to get weird now. However, luckily, the Behemoth finds more food, so she lets go of his hands and rushes to buy it, which Tojuro, in his mind, thanks her for. Behemoth then stares at some other people and thinks that humans are actually fascinating and that they add so many different flavors to their foods. Tojuro says that it's true, and the Behemoth continues as she says that those amazing smells have always intrigued her. However, she says that things always broke when she tried to get close, explaining that everyone fears her and coming to this place would have been impossible in her original form. Tojuro then puts two and two together and asks her if that was why she was always watching from afar, and she says that it's true, saying that it's not like she wanted to hurt anyone, but that she was just there. Tojuro then tells her that it sounds to him as if the Behemoth is actually a really good person. However, she then looks scary and asks if he is looking at her when he says, "a good person," and he says that he is, telling her that now that he thinks about it, she was behaving pretty weird back then. But it makes more sense now knowing she was trying not to cause any damage and that she even listened to what he was saying the other day too. The Behemoth says that still she is an anomaly, an attacker of people, a bringer of destruction. Tojuro just asks her if she can really say that after everything, and it looks like she blushes a bit. But then she goes strangely close to Tojuro, and she smiles towards him as she tells him that he has made her wish come true, so that makes Tojuro a good person too, telling him that he should bring her here again sometime. We then see Quattro, who has been listening in, and he says alright, and that it seems like things are going well between him and Behemoth, thinking that taming her this way may not be such a bad strategy after all, and if they can just make the subject fall for him this way, then maybe Tojuro could actually control Behemoth's thoughts. However, as he looks at Tojuro, he quickly realizes that it's the other way around, and that Tojuro is falling for her, thinking that if Tojuro grovels like this, then it looks like he will be the one being tamed here, and that it's as if the power balance has already been switched. Quattro thinks that this is unexpected, and wonders how he should report this to the headquarters. After that, the Behemoth asks Tojuro what's wrong, but he just blushes and says that it's nothing. However, after that, we see some small dark creatures saying that they have spotted the Behemoth, and that they must defeat and kill her. After that, we see some text that says that a report details the connection between anomalies and mythologies. These anomalies seem to bear a striking resemblance to the ones depicted in strange local legends from various regions. One posited working hypothesis states that, through some unknown ability, these anomalies are intentionally taking on the form of creatures to match these legends. We then learn that it was Quattro that read that book, and Tojuro says that he must really love books. Quattro says that he sure does, and that anything with one of these stories is great, telling Tojuro that not only that, but these myths and fairy tales also contain methods and strategies for defeating these legendary creatures. He then gives Tojuro one book and asks him if he shouldn't try and give it a read, saying that he might come up with better ways of defeating them. Tojuro just looks confused, but Quattro continues and says that he is sure that Tojuro is beginning to grow curious about her, like as a woman. Tojuro just screams as he hears that. Meanwhile, Quattro just smiles and tells him that the things she likes, the type of guy she's into, might all be in his book of his. Tojuro is embarrassed and tells him that it's not like that at all. Quatre says that even then, information gathering is crucial and that they really need Tojuro to tame her after all. Tojuro then reads it a bit and learns that anomalies can change their form using some sort of power, and that being able to do that just makes them even more mysterious, wondering what the true nature of these anomalies really is. Suddenly we get to Behemoth, who is in the bath, when suddenly two small creatures go through the roof and head to kill her. Tojuro and Quatre wonder just what is going on, but then Behemoth rushes out of the bathroom and she right away jumps on top of Tojuro to protect him. But yeah, I don't know what I can realistically show, but she gets a bit mad, so Tojuro screams at her to put on a towel. She does that, and Tojuro then asks what these things are. Quatre asks if he has never seen them before and says that they are goblins. Tojuro is amazed and says that they look so different from his reference material. Quatre just says that usually they don't do much else other than play pranks, so they're very rarely targeted for subjugation. We then learn that they are from European folklore, although interpretations vary widely. Modern descriptions depict them as malicious, evil little imps. Quatre admits that reports of them attacking humans are extremely rare, which would mean that their target is Behemoth. Tojuro just looks at her as she is getting angrier, but she then says that it's unacceptable and asks them how they dared to drag the boy into this, telling them that she will show them no mercy at all. She looks super scary as she says that they have meddled in the Beast King's domain and that they will be utterly destroyed before even having time to regret it. As she says that, Tojuro thinks back to the time she transformed into her huge beast form, and he tells her to hold on. Behemoth is shocked, but Tojuro says that he will take care of it, and that there's something he wants to try out, and it then looks like she blushes a bit. Tojuro then tells Quatre to hand him the book, and he gives it to Tojuro right away, who starts to look for the page about goblins. He thinks back to Quatre telling him that in this book, there are also methods and strategies for defeating these legendary creatures. He quickly goes to the page with the goblins, and he then gives the Behemoth something, and tells her to scatter it everywhere, which she does, and then a bunch of trash gets onto the floor. Quatre looks at this in amazement as they are actually picking it up, and Tojuro says that it's just like the myth, explaining that goblins, although these days they're treated like monsters, originally they were known as being house spirits or fairies. They love being mischievous and causing trouble sometimes. But as you can see in this storybook, there's also a theory that certain types of goblins used to help out with household chores. He then smiles and says that after all, Quatre told him that these books contain methods to defeat them. And Quatre just says that he can't believe that it really worked. When they are done cleaning up, Tojuro praises them and tells them, well done, as he gives them some cookies as a reward for their hard work, and that brings a huge smile to all of the goblins. After that, Tojuro stretches and says that it all ended well in the end. Behemoth then speaks up and says that no one got hurt this time, and Tojuro says that there's nothing to worry about now and tells her to just stay with him. This shocks Behemoth, who thinks that Tojuro is really trying to grant her wish, and after that she gets close to him and smiles. This however catches Tojuro off guard, but Behemoth then plays it off nicely as she asks how long until dinner is ready. Tojuro says that he will get it ready, but tells her to put some clothes on first. As she is doing that, Tojuro thinks that it's still very strange that they were targeting Behemoth again. He wonders why would her own kind go out of their way to try and kill her, and he wonders if the Behemoth is that much of a threat to them. After that, we see some sort of nun saying that she sees. She says that she knew that he would just be too naive and that Tojuro is in great danger. The president asks her if that's true and says that he honestly thought that it looked like things were going pretty well. The nun just says that she knows that those people are so desperate to appease these anomalies, but these monsters wield dangerous powers that no human has. They can destroy everything in the blink of an eye. That is the true nature of these creatures. Excessive violence must be met and properly subdued with force, saying that it's about time they borrowed the strength of those children, the professional anomaly killers. After that, we get into one of Behemoth's dreams. We see some citizens being super afraid and saying that the thing is back again and that it's going to destroy everything. We then see that it's obviously Behemoth who they are running from. However, she thinks to herself that they're all wrong and that she doesn't mean to destroy anything. She is sad to see all of them running away and tells them to please not go and not to leave her alone. She then wakes up and we can see her hugging Tojuro tightly while saying that it's raining. After that, we skip some time and see Tojuro trying to leave, but Behemoth doesn't allow him and he asks her what's up with her. She asks him where exactly he is going, asking if he is going to leave the Beast King behind. Tojuro just says that he is going to clean the drains, explaining that it's not like he wants to go, but that it's his turn and that it needs to be done. Behemoth tries to say that she will go with him. However, Tojuro tells her that there's no need for both of them to get filthy. She then tells him that if she is separated from him, then she will change back to her form. But he says that he will just be right here and tells her to chill out. After that, we see Quatre coming. He looks happy as he says that Japan truly a goldmine for books, saying that they have everything from printed stories to illustrated books and that he is in heaven right now. Suddenly, he spots Behemoth being outside. She looks intensely towards Tojuro, and Quatre thinks that he has never seen her make this face, so he asks her what she is doing. She then points to Tojuro and says that she was left behind. Quatre understands, but thinks that he is surprised that how quickly she's become attached, wondering if she really is just waiting for Tojuro to return home. He thinks that things seem to be doing well, and that perhaps a little too well. But he says that he should still be happy about this. Behemoth then spots his shop bag and asks him what he has inside. He picks up a book and tells her that it's a story inside. He gives it to her and tells her that she can read it if she wants. But suddenly, as he sees her squeezing the book, he takes it back, saying that he's got a bad feeling about it. Quatre then asks if Behemoth can't tell him about her story. She's just confused, but he says that a tale told by a divine beast like her would that itself not become a thing of legend. He admits that he is quite intrigued about the untold stories behind the legends. Behemoth, however, says that she doesn't have any, but Quatre tells her not to be like that. But she says that it's true, as she says that whenever she visited the nearby villages, she ended up just smashing everything, explaining that she used to sometimes visit human villages, calling it cultural curiosity. However, every time she just destroyed houses. Before long, the entire surrounding area had been reduced to wasteland. She says that she left maybe places in ruins just from walking. That's when she realized that she was being called the Beast King. Since then, no human dared to approach her, and she has always been a beast separated from the mundane world. So nothing in particular has changed, explaining that she has become used to being alone, but Quatre thinks that it sure doesn't seem like she is used to it. She then stares at Tojuro closely, who is talking to someone, and Quatre says that he understands, saying that the Beast King's ordinary existence has been turned upside down by Tojuro. After that, we can see her smile for a quick second, before she brushes it away. She then asks Quatre if he isn't finished yet, but Quatre instead just asks her if she is a bit lonely without Tojuro by her side. She is confused, but Quatre tells her to think about it, saying that unlike her past, Tojuro is always by her side now. For a human, that trait is incredibly rare, and for Tojuro to cherish her so deeply and want to protect her, she's already starting to become a part of Tojuro's everyday life, telling her that she is no longer a lonely beast. Now Tojuro scolds her for breaking things because he's worried about her. He stays by her side, and he will continue to stay there because he's thinking of her happiness. Behemoth just says, "A normal life and happiness," before she looks at Tojuro, who calls out for her with a huge smile. He tells her that the rain stopped, and for them to let's go and do something, asking if she is coming. She then thinks about all of their memories together, and suddenly her bruise on her hand begins to light up as she gets a big smile and says that she will of course come along. Quatre just looks at this and wonders just what that was. Tojuro then spots him and asks if he is also coming, but he says that he is fine. So Tojuro says that it will only be the two of them then, but that they won't be gone for long. Quatre then thinks that he didn't just imagine it. He wonders if it is possible that it reacts somehow, depending on the subject's emotions. He is about to call it wonderful, but that's when someone calls it disgusting, and suddenly some sort of massive chain attack is heading right to Tojuro and Behemoth. Behemoth manages to protect Tojuro, but actually gets a bit hurt in the process. Suddenly someone comes by and says that for having such a huge body, she's still pretty nimble. Quatre is just surprised that they managed to hurt Behemoth. Tojuro then asks them who they are. The girl approaching asks if he has already forgotten his senpai's face. She asks him what she taught him, that when you see an anomaly, you kill it right away, explaining that if you give them the chance to bite back, you're in for a whole world of pain. Tojuro then asks her what she is doing here. She just asks him if that's the right way to address his senpai. She then says that it looks like she will have to teach him everything again. Quatre adds in and says that she was supposed to be away working on some special mission and calls her a troublemaker as he asks her who ordered her to come here. We then learn that it's the captain of Exor's highest-ranking subjugation unit and that she is called Sun. Suddenly Sun appears right behind Tojuro and she licks his face and says that he got injured again and that he really isn't mentally prepared for this. She starts biting his hand while telling him that it looks like he will need to be re-educated. Just then, Behemoth comes in and protects him. She asks Tojuro who that woman was, and he then says that she is the highest-ranked elite exorcist and that she despises high-ranked anomalies. Tojuro wonders to himself why she is here before telling Behemoth to back off. He tries to lighten the mood by saying that it has been a while. He asks her if the headquarters hasn't passed on the message to her and that Behemoth has been assigned to him. She says that she knows, but tells him that the real problem is that he accepted that order in the first place. She then goes to attack, but Tojuro luckily blocks it. Just then, Quatre comes in, and Sun tells him to move aside, but he tells her that they are still within the city's limit. Suddenly, someone else says that it's fine and that they will be done fast. Sun then keeps throwing attacks towards them, which Tojuro manages to block. He tells her to hold up and asks if she read the report, and that it said that Behemoth taking on a human form is a super rare case. Sun just asks him so what, but he asks her to please just hear him out, as he says that he even became friendly with goblins the other day. He tells Sun that there's no need to subjugate Behemoth, and that yeah, she might be clumsy, but she's a good person, asking Sun if ending it without a fight wouldn't be the best. However, we then see Sun looking super mad, as she says that beasts do not deserve compassion, and that anomalies are to be annihilated immediately, saying that they may be sentient, but in the end, as an anomaly, its fate remains the same, telling Tojuro to move out of her way as she throws another attack towards him. But this time Behemoth blocks it, and tells him that the blade is super sharp, and for him to stay away. He tries to argue, but she says that it's good that her attacks are easy to read, explaining that from the beginning of time, only the strongest have survived, and that victory is all that mattered. Besides, Sun tried to devour Tojuro, which she can't allow, as she is the only one who's going to devour Tojuro. Tojuro just asks her why she is so obsessed with that, but then Sun gets right into it again, and says that anomalies' mouths shouldn't say human words, and goes to attack, which Behemoth takes head on. Sun then gets up to a roof, and says that the Behemoth will do anything to survive, and that it's mimicking being human. She then starts loading up a special attack, and says that she will end this before it's too late. Tojuro sees this, and realizes that it's bad, and he runs and pushes Behemoth out of the way, protecting her from the incoming attack. Behemoth screams out for him, and thinks to herself that she won't let Sun lay a finger on him, as he belongs to her, and as she says that, the bruise on her hand begins to limit up, and something called Limit Break unlocks, and she manages to catch Sun's attack in her hand. We also learn that the Beast King Behemoth has shifted to mass annihilation mode, and she then loads up some sort of ranged attack, and shoots it right towards Sun. The attack is just about to hit Sun head on, but luckily she was saved by someone else. Tojuro asks if they aren't from the Japanese branch, and thinks that he is happy that Sun is okay. The man says that his name is A, and that they work directly under Exor's Japanese president. The other girl introduces herself as B. After that, A tells Sun that she has been told countless times that she's only authorized to subjugate when she is ordered to, explaining that the Japanese branch will not allow excessive violence in this town. We then see B holding up a poster that they were only recording a movie so that the citizens wouldn't get suspicious, which was really fun. A then continues and says that Behemoth's transformation, it was confirmed that it was caused by an increase of an unknown attribute, and that they have concluded that recklessly meddling with her is dangerous, saying that as for this fight, the Japanese branch will handle things from here. We then see Sun telling Tojuro that they don't forgive him. Anyway, they leave, and Tojuro asks Behemoth what that was just now. She says that she really doesn't know, and that Tojuro wanted to protect her, but she wanted to protect him instead, and then suddenly her body became easier to move, and she wonders if it was caused by this bruise. Tojuro then says that it's amazing, and that because if she can move easier, then she might not wreck everything around her. She smiles and says that it would be good. Tojuro says that it's the right spirit, and to try as much as possible to not hurt anyone, and she just says that she will keep it in mind. We then get to Quatre and the others. Someone who we haven't gotten the name of right now asks if Quatre can assist them with this mission, but he says that he is on Team Behemoth. The girl says that it's been so long since they last saw Tojuro, and that they were pretty stoked to come here, especially Sun. We then get to Sun, who is crying on the floor. She asks how Tojuro can cheat on her with someone like that, saying that even after she did so much and after she took care of him, asking how this could happen, the girl tells Sun that she treats him in a twisted way. Quatre adds in by saying that the way Sun showers him with affection is pretty anomalous. He then says that he thinks that their withdrawal from this mission would be for the best, saying that fighting them isn't exactly a walk in the park either, and asks why they don't all just take a step back and make some time to start a discussion. But suddenly, he gets an exorcist summon, and the girl and Sun also get summoned, which leads them to believing that it can't be good, and says that they have a bad feeling about this. After that, we get to the coastal waters of the Ogasawara archipelago. We see some shipmen on the boat when suddenly a huge tentacle goes out of the sea and then devours the ship. We then get to Quattro and the others. He says that recently they have had numerous reports of ships capsizing close to Tokyo's remote island and various other strange reports, including that of people going missing. The cause is unknown, and these incidents always occur at night. All rescued crewmen tell the same story, that they were heading towards an island. He explains that these are no mere coincidences, and that it has to be the work of some sort of anomaly. After that, we see Behemoth and Sun staring at each other very intensely, and Quattro tells them to have a temporary ceasefire and to let's just consider it all water under the bridge. However, Sun asks how she can relax when she can't subjugate the anomaly standing before her. Behemoth just tells Tojuro that she despises Sun, and Tojuro thinks that it's getting wild. We then learn that the little girl is called Elise, and she tells Sun that they will get in trouble if she picks another fight with her. After that, she says that since they are all here, they should have a get-together before the investigation begins, explaining that the anomaly only appears at night, plus there's no signs of anomaly activity right now. She smiles and says that getting to know your teammates is an important job too, and she introduces herself to Behemoth. Sun asks her if she is serious, but she explains that she thought that Sun wanted to talk with Tojuro. Elise then goes to Tojuro and tells him that they will look after Behemoth and that he should go and have a chat with Sun. She tells Tojuro that Sun always worries about him, which leaves him a bit shocked. Anyway, Elise says that all she is saying is that Sun's got a ton on her mind too. Quattro then comes and says that it's true, and that now that they're all fighting together, getting her on their side should be their priority. Tojuro just wonders what he should do, and Elise tells him that he should just sweet-talk her or even just make a move, telling Tojuro that he is the only one who can do it. Since they will be making moves at night, they tell him to wrap it up quickly during the day. After that, we get to the beach, where we see Elise and Behemoth playing together. Meanwhile, Tojuro runs around on the sand. Suddenly some more exorcists ask him if he wants to hang out with them, but he tells them that he has things to do. As he goes away, Behemoth is still keeping close eyes on him, while also having fun of course. We then get back to Tojuro, who thinks that Sun isn't the easiest person in the world to deal with. Plus, if he isn't careful in front of her, then she will kill him. But even then, when he was young, being assigned to her unit, the back of the woman protecting him reassured him so much, saying that she was always kind to him, and if it weren't for how she gets anomalies, she wouldn't be such a bad senpai. Suddenly he hears her voice from behind and turns around and spots her. He tells himself not to panic and that if he doesn't improve their relationship, then it will become a problem for everyone. Tojuro asks her if she isn't joining everyone else. She, however, says that she refuses to be in the same place as Behemoth, but that nothing is stopping him from hanging out with them. Tojuro just tells her that he actually came to see her, which makes her blush a bit. Tojuro thinks that this might be his chance, but admits that she is a bit scary. Meanwhile, she thinks that he is cute. Tojuro starts it off by saying that it has been a while and that she is still as strong as ever. Sun, on the other hand, tells him that he seems to be slacking off, but in her head she admits that it feels so good to talk to him again after so long, but she then wonders if he isn't showing off too much skin. Suddenly, she starts to get a weird smirk as she says that she just wants to gobble him up, but suddenly she sees something and rushes to him. She takes off his shirt and says that he has got more scars and that he went and got hurt like this after she went away, and still he hangs out with an anomaly. Tojuro tells her that it isn't like that and that Behemoth isn't an evil person. He says that sure, they get injured by anomalies, people die, and it's always the same. They have been on the front lines, so they know how it goes, but he wants to change all that. All they do is fight and kill. However, he doesn't want more people to die, not Behemoth and not Sun herself. Sun starts to blush and tells him that he is such a sweetheart and that he never changes with that, but tells him that he is quite naive. Sun asks Tojuro if he doesn't get it. She says that this is a kind of careless idealism that allows these anomalies to run rampant and kill innocent people, saying that killing them is the only way they can protect the innocence of this world. Behemoth then looks at this and wonders just what is going on, but suddenly everyone can feel something, and they start to wonder if the island was always there. Tojuro asks Sun what is wrong, but she just wonders about this strange aura she is feeling, saying that it's some sort of mysterious island. Then suddenly, a huge wave of water goes to them, and Tojuro falls into the water. Sun screams at him to look below him, where we see some sort of huge sea creature going to attack him. The text says that throughout the vast history of maritime travel, it has appeared time and time again, sometimes called a serpent, other times a turtle, and occasionally even an alligator. When it breaches the surface of the ocean, sailors often mistake it for a small island and attempt to land upon it. Across the world, tales of ships and sailors being attacked by an entity known as the sea serpent. After that, we get back to everyone looking in total awe as they say that he has been devoured. Sun screams out for him, and so does Behemoth, who it looks like is even crying. After that, she gets super mad and starts to fire some sort of beam towards the sea serpent, and Sun screams at her and asks her what she is doing. After that, she uses her sword and extends it so that it reaches around Behemoth's neck, which cancels her beam. Sun asks her if she is out of her mind, but Behemoth says that she tried to rescue Tojiro. Sun, however, calls her a dumbass and tells Behemoth that they doesn't even know if he's dead yet, saying that he's still inside, and Behemoth plans on blowing away the monster that ate him, telling Behemoth to use her head for once and to not go berserk as Tojiro's life is in serious danger right now. Behemoth looks to be in total shock. After that, meanwhile, Quattro asks them if they are okay, and Sun tells him to stay back, and that as long as that thing's lurking underwater, more people are gonna die. After that, Sun dives into the water and looks at the sea serpent while saying that their top priority is making sure Tojiro's still alive. Suddenly, Behemoth's ring starts to beep, and it's Tojiro who calls for her. Sun, who has gotten back up, is just in pure shock and asks how they can communicate like that. Anyway, Tojiro says that he's happy that they can hear him, and he says that he's still alive. Sun then looks like she is about to cry, as she is super happy to hear that. Tojiro then continues and tells them not to attack. However, Sun screams that it's too late for that, and asks if he is still going on about his thing of not wanting to hurt anomalies. However, Tojiro tells her that she is wrong. We then get to Tojiro, who says that he has ended up in its stomach, but that inside its belly there are more survivors, and he says that they're probably the missing people from when that boat capsized. Sun then looks conflicted, as with that in mind, they truly can't attack it. Tojiro then continues and says that he will get the survivors out of here, before telling them that if there's any way that they can somehow immobilize it so that they could make their escape. Sun tells him not to be ridiculous and says that there's no way that they could restrain a beast that size without harming it. But that's when Behemoth, without any second of hesitation, dives into the water. Sun just looks at her from above and wonders what she will do. Behemoth tries to punch the sea serpent, but just then it smacks Behemoth away. She goes up and says that she needs to go again. However, Sun tells her to hold up. However, the Behemoth looks back at her and tells her that Tojiro is asking for their help. Sun looks once again very conflicted as she wonders to herself if she isn't a ramping beast who runs on pure instincts, but still she is fighting for someone else's sake, saying that she had previously thought that she was just like the other anomalies before admitting that maybe she was wrong. Sun then speaks up and says that she understands and that she has a plan. She tells Behemoth to listen up, as if they are going to save Tojiro, and then Behemoth needs to do exactly as she says. This catches Behemoth's attention as Sun then continues, saying that she still despises her. However, if what she is saying is true, and that she is capable of caring for someone other than herself, then just this once, Sun will put her faith in her. Behemoth just nods to her, as she then dives into the ocean. Meanwhile, Sun starts getting ready with her sword, and tells Elise to be ready, as she sends the sword around the sea serpent. With that, she has locked the sea serpent down, and just then, Behemoth wastes no time as she goes in for the punch and punches the sea serpent right in its stomach, which makes Tojiro and all other survivors start to fly out of its mouth. With them in the air, Sun screams at Elise to do something now, and we can see that it looks like she has electrocuted the sea serpent. After that, Tojiro and the other survivors swim all the way to the shore, and as he gets to the beach, he says that they are all saved. As he then rolls over, he spots Behemoth being on top of him. Behemoth, just like always, calls him boy, before starting to give him a huge hug and saying that she is happy that he is safe. We also see Sun in the back, who looks jealous of this, but Tojiro couldn't care less about any of this, as he asks, "What's with the sea serpent?" And Quattro tells him that it looks to still be alive and asks what they should do with it. Elise says that they can't just let this thing go free and cause more mayhem, and Quattro says that they most likely has no choice but to exterminate it. Tojiro, however, tries to think hard of another way to do it, as he says that he really doesn't want to kill it, and Quattro says that he is on it again. While this is going on, we see Sun in the back wondering what's up with the bruise on both Tojiro's and Behemoth's finger, and says that no one's been able to do it before, but he's now got some strange ability to control anomalies, and says that there's no way that it's just an ordinary bruise. While she's in her thoughts, Behemoth gets close to the sea serpent and says neutralize without killing, and just then, her bruise lights up, which catches Sun's attention. The bruise then says engage, and that as per contractor's command, overriding and correction of target will now commence. A survivor of the ancient species, posited theory, a sea-dwelling creature, a remnant from the age of dinosaurs, still inhabiting the ocean today, risk detected danger exceeds. acceptable parameters erasing risk. Hallucination phenomenon theory presents a significant concern regarding its influence on the human brain. Behemoth's eyes then starts to light up as she says finally for the remaining correction. For this target will be a little cute seal, which the sea serpent ended up transforming into, which leaves everyone shocked and just standing there looking at the seal. We then see Tojiro saying that it was weird how it all happened, and he starts to question how something like that is even possible. However, we then go over to Sun, who thinks to herself, and she thinks that something is up as she looks at Behemoth and says that it's obviously her fault, explaining that it definitely changed because of her, and says that its whole body was reconstructed and that this is some super strange thing going on, ending it by questioning herself about what is really going on with Behemoth. After that, we see the members splitting up and going their different ways, and Tojiro says goodbye to all of them. After that, we follow Sun, Elise, and Quatre. Elise says that she is extremely hungry, and Quatre says that there is a cafe close by that he would recommend. However, we see that Sun is just dead silent, as she wonders to herself if it is really okay to leave things this way, wondering about what if Behemoth ends up being bad news for Tojiro. Just then she places her hand on her sword, and says that there would be nothing of her if that would be the case, and she looks super scary as she says that. We then see Elise, who peeks her head forward, and suddenly she starts to laugh. She then gets a very smug-looking smile, and asks Sun why she doesn't just move in here and get a place right next to Tojiro's. Sun looks at her for a long minute, before she gets a very disgusted look on her face, and she, with a very angry tone, asks her if she is up to something again. Elise just hits her back with another smug expression, as she says that Sun can't help herself, but worrying about Tojiro. She then has a huge and bright smile and says that since they have a stay in Japan for a while now, Sun looking for a place around here wouldn't be the worst idea ever. We then get to a real estate company where we see an old guy showing them a couple of houses. We then have Quatre in the back just wondering what it is that is going on. Sun then looks back and asks him why he is here. Quatre just tells her that it looked like it was going to be fun, so he decided to tag along, continuing as he says that this is just wonderful, and that Sun is buying a house to be close to the man that she has fallen in love with. Elise agrees with him, while Sun looks pissed off to the max as she tries to say that this was all Elise's idea from the start. However, Elise tries to make her even more furious as she says that still, he isn't wrong. After that, from literally out of nowhere, the old man cuts in and says that he understands the situation and says that Sun is trying to build the perfect harem home. As Sun hears that, she loses it and tells him not to start, and even starts to threaten him. However, that's when Quatre holds her down and tells her to calm down. We then get back to Sun, who looks annoyed as she thinks back to how the Behemoth hugged Sun. This all leads into a flashback to when Sun and Tojiro first met. Tojiro told Sun that he would be in her care from today, explaining that he is called Tojiro and that he is looking forward to working with her. Sun, however, with a mean tone, just tells him not to get in her way. However, as they are walking, we can see Sun wondering to herself just what the headquarters are thinking with this. We then get into some action as we see the young Tojiro cutting down a monster before he kneels down on the floor from exhaustion. However, Sun sees this and throws him a handkerchief, which makes Tojiro's eyes big. After that, we see a huge-looking lizard monster, which goes to cut down Sun. However, just then, Tojiro comes in its way and redirects the attack and gets himself hit, and his head starts running down with blood. Sun screams at him and calls him dumb and says that now's not the time to worry about anyone else and just fight. However, Tojiro disagrees and says that he did it for her and it was all because she didn't abandon him, saying that he didn't want her to get hurt because of him. He looks fired up as he says that there's no way ever that he would leave Sun alone to get hurt, ending it by saying that it's because his senpai is a super kind person, and this makes Sun's whole world get thrown upside down as she looks super surprised. We then see Tojiro beating the monster before he even goes as far as apologizing to it. With that, we get back to real time, where Sun clenches her fists and thinks that Tojiro genuinely doesn't want to see anyone get hurt, explaining that it even includes anomalies. We then see the old man saying that if they move a little further away from this area, they have got some pretty nice rooms. But in an instant, Sun screams no and says that the closer to the boy the better, and her saying that shocks even herself as she can't believe what she just said. With that, everyone around her says that she is so in love with Tojiro. This makes her completely snap as she tries to cut them down, but she gets stopped. Anyway, with that, we see them starting to move in, and we see that Sun and Elise will be sharing the room. We then see Sun, who asks why Quatre is so quick to come and hang out, and Quatre, who is helping them move in, asks her what she means, as they are neighbors after all. This makes Sun scream out of frustration as she asks him why he didn't say so earlier. Quatre just laughs and says that this neighborhood has always had a lot of military personnel living here, and asks if she didn't know. Someone explains that the president of the Japanese branch also lives in this neighborhood. They keep on explaining, and that seeing how Behemoth's a special protection case, and well, since normal citizens live here too, after the incidents involving Behemoth, they have been closely monitoring the area. We then see Sun thinking to herself that at least they are actually monitoring the beast. Quatre then speaks up and says that what's even funnier is that ex-chorists always uses this neighborhood for temporary housing. However, Sun on the other hand wanted to get as close to Jiro as she could. This sends Sun into a spiral as she begins to sweat and blush a bunch. Her eyes then begins to spin as she starts to beat them, and we then cut to Behemoth and Jiro, who overhears this, and Jiro wonders if it's an earthquake.